Howdy, howdy, and welcome to My Bloody Judy with your final forgets, myself, Zachary Patton Garcia.
And Ian Carlos Crawford.
And today, joining us for part 3 of Scream, our opening chill is... Wait. God!
Forgot the guests.
I know.
What are their names? What are their names? Sound it out.
Am I?
And today, joining us for part 3 of Scream is our opening chills. Jarett, I'm like blanking on how to say your last name out loud.
Weisselman. That's
Weisselman.
It'll trip you up. Don't worry.
God, I've only known you for a long time. All right.
It's okay.
And I'm Ian Carlos Crawford, and joining us today is our opening chills for part 3 of Scream, Jarett Weisselman and LaToya Ferguson. Hello.
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 I'm so happy to have both of you here, and I'm sorry that my voice sounds like a nightmare because I am very sick.
That's okay. You just sound like Casey Becker on the porch at the end of her opening scene.
Well, we said that in the last one too. Yeah.
So there you go. It's clearly a common thread.
Method acting over here.
right.
Jeremy
So
Strong
good.
boo.
It's so good. You know, it's going to be funny though, is we're recording all of these out of order, so your voice is getting progressively better.
Yeah.
Throughout it. So by part 2, you'll be fine. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, we're going to be covering part 3, everything at Stu's house, and what basically scene 118, right?
And I gotta point out, Jarett, I love that you and I both have the Super Yaki shirts. I wore that one for our first recording.
I love that. Listen, you can't go wrong. I bought the whole pack and I was deciding which one to wear, and it felt like, if we're talking about Scream, we should pay a little tribute to Wes. So
How embarrassing if you both would have been Courtney Cox tonight.
I mean, listen, there's such a gross joke that I'm not going to make. Let's continue, shall we?
Jarett, you should have been Parker Posey. That should have been your shirt.
If they didn't make Parker Posey, I feel like Jennifer Jolie got the shaft and it was really rude.
And that's also a hate crime, I gotta say.
Yeah, maybe for the next drops.
LaToya, we're already in Scream 3. You made the joke right before we started recording.
I know, that's why I said
you
also.
Open it with Scream 3.
I will let people know when things are hate crimes. That's my job.
Jarett, did you get the Nev Campbell one? I could never get that one. It was always sold out.
I got Nev Campbell, I got David Arquette, I got Courtney and Matthew Lillard. So that was like the little 5-pack that they sold. So.
I should have just put on like the shirt I got from Redbubble, which is not Scream related, but it is Frasier related, and it just is all the characters from Frasier, and that's what I should have been promoting tonight.
And you shouldn't have said anything. Don't even look at it. Don't mention it.
Exactly.
Nothing, just
it's
have
just
it
normal.
But yeah, so we're here to talk about the end act of the movie, which is a good, like Zach said, a good whole hour of the movie.
It's like 40 to 50 minutes, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like they really milk this set.
It's a good set.
Yeah.
So they have this party because school is canceled. So Stu's throwing this big party, and he has this gorgeous house that we have now seen in all the previews for the new Scream. We'll be going back to that house.
The new Scream, in which I'm adding a V to the title somewhere, even if they don't want it to be. It's going to be there in my mind.
I don't know why they didn't. It was right there. I mean, you could even make the V and the M there were so many opportunities.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I think 5 cream sounds really
maybe
good.
we are saying that the M has the V and they're just not acknowledging it, but it's there.
Yeah. Let's make it like much more distinct, I say.
Just add additional lines.
We'll just go around the entire country just adding with Sharpies like an actual V.
Hey, carry your Sharpie with you and really do it. If you see it, do your job.
If you see
something, do something.
There you go. As far as like the final act for all of these movies, where does this one kind of sit with y'all?
I think this final act is one of the greatest final acts in all of film, honestly. Not even just like in like the whole franchise, but just in film. It's so impressive.
Yeah.
Because they are just like truly just in the central location. And obviously you have like exteriors and whatever, but to get people to be so focused and engaged on what's going on everywhere in this, sprawling house, which is something, obviously you have that in Scream 3. Technically you have like Scott Foley's estate. It's not the same. Yeah. It's not to the same extent.
No, I agree. Cause like the thing that's amazing about this set is unlike Scream 3, where it felt like you just kept finding rooms that fit the story. Like I could draw the architecture layout of the house. It makes so much sense. It's so clear to me. I know where all the rooms are. I know where all, the stairs and the attics and corridors. And like I think it's because they do such an amazing job at like timing out the last 40 minutes of the movie, right? So people are never where they shouldn't be. They're always showing up at exactly, like there's a real meticulousness to how everything plots out that I think gives you a fuller sense of actually the location that you're in.
And they do that really throughout the whole movie too, right? They did that with Casey Becker's house. They do that with Sydney's house. They're really good at establishing a location and just kind of putting it in our minds, you know, and we remember those.
I think it like I mean I say this about everything with these movies, but in the lesser movie this would not have worked, like being in the same house for that long. Like, it just would have been like, all right, come on, like what are we doing? But there's like so much for them. Like we get like Gail and Dewey going for a walk. We get, you know, we get Tatum going to the garage, but it still feels separate enough because the house is pretty freaking big, that we can have these like scenes in this like this one setting, but we have the separate scenes happening and they all do like work. Like it you can buy that like they don't hear Tatum being killed because the house is big and the property's huge, right?
Totally.
Obviously it's a testament to Wes Craven's directing, but like especially early Kevin Williamson, he knows how to like fucking write a set piece in general and just like to make a location, because that's like not just, you know, I Know What You Did Last Summer, but also just Dawson's Creek in general, even like early Vampire Diaries. Like he knows how to make a location, you know, the fifth lady, as it were.
No, it's true. I mean, because even if you think about like the Salvatore house and the way it fits into Mystic Falls, like he really understood like the importance of feeling grounded in a place to make something feel real. And I think that's why these movies are so effective. It's because everything in it feels extremely real and grounded because of exactly what you're talking about, LaToya.
Yeah, and that's I think why the final act of Act 3 of Scream 3 compared to this one doesn't work as well, because like the main setting is like the Prescott home set of that movie, and then you move on to Roman's little like magic castle castle.
House of Horrors. Like it's just like new rooms keep appearing, and then there's secret corridors, and then there's a movie theater room, and it's like this felt like Aaron Kruger was like just writing scenes. He's like, well, all of these things would of course be in this crazy person's house versus this, which is this is the house. How do I write the movie that takes place in this existing setting?
Watch them do that for 5 though. This house ends up with a bunch of new corridors, and there's a secret basement Stu's been living in. And
but also Kirby's there, alive. Kirby's alive, baby.
That's all we want. That's all we need. There's like, don't you still hold out like a small chance that she's going to somehow pop up in 5?
I kind of think so, right?
That would be
something.
I would scream.
I think she would work as like the opening kill. I think.
Yeah.
I don't want her to die, but like
they're like, finally she's dead. Shut the fuck up, all you babes.
Yeah, seriously.
There, see, now you saw her die. And like I actually do. We build up the chemistry between Gail and Dewey here, and I actually do. Yeah. You know, they have chemistry. They just really do. You know, I was just screen capping for Scream 2 earlier today, and like the scene where he's like quoting her book at her about like what she says, and you see Gail is charmed by him. Like he's fucking pissed at her, but she's charmed, and she's like, hey, I'm sorry. Like, and she means it, and it's Gail Weathers. Like she doesn't give a shit, but she does genuinely care about him, and I like seeing them. Like he is like a doofus, but she's like a take no shit severe character, but she is charmed by him, and I like seeing them. I like seeing that.
I do too. I do wonder, I mean, obviously they're both good actors, but like would that relationship between those two characters have been as effective over the course of the franchise if there wasn't the actual relationship that Courtney and David were having simultaneously? Like they said, you know, in Scream 1, you're watching them fall in love. That was them meeting and falling in love on the set. Scream 2, they were like really together. So it's interesting to think about how much of the flirtatious and the chemistry that we're seeing in their eyes was just real. And maybe that even made it feel more, you know, watchable and compelling, and like a relationship you really cared about in a way.
Yeah, that's true. And, you know, I think about this a lot. Like I saw Scream was like my intro to horror. So they're watching Halloween, and I hadn't seen Halloween when I saw Scream. And I always think how weird that is that my first, the first part I saw of Halloween was in the movie Scream, was them watching it. Zach, I gotta say, how do you feel about that as Halloween being your favorite franchise? Does that really excite you, or do you?
Oh yeah, obviously. When I see them playing Halloween on a TV screen, I don't know. As a fan of horror, I think anybody gets excited to see their little, Easter eggs planted everywhere throughout the whole series, throughout any movie. I'd seen Halloween when probably around the first time I saw Scream, so I remember from my earliest watches recognizing it and seeing that and getting really excited for it. But I don't know. Are there any references to other horror movies in this final act?
Well, yeah, there's the Norman Bates cycle line that, we all go a little crazy sometimes. Carrie, pig's blood, the corn syrup. And then when
they give up the ghost, basically.
Yeah. But otherwise, it's just the rules and what they're watching and talking about sort of, Jamie Lee Curtis. But it's not as referential, I think, because I think what they're doing now, they don't need to refer to anything because they're actually building their own sort of mythology in a way, right? They've set the groundwork that they love horror movies, they understand horror movies, and now they're and now this is our horror movie.
Now we're in a horror movie,
right,
yeah. So can we talk about Tatum's death? I feel like that happens fairly
That's
early
pretty
on.
early, right? Everybody's still at the party when that happens.
It's pretty quick, yeah.
I really, that's a thing Scream always does, right? It has these characters that die that you like. And Tatum is a very good character. And I even like her reaction to Ghostface, right? She's just ugh, this is annoying. She's oh no, I don't want to die. Put me in the sequel. And then once she's oh, this guy's really cut me, she's throwing beer bottles at him and smashing him in the head with the refrigerator door.
Gosh,
she's
Ghostface goes through it in this series.
I always felt a little let down by her death just because getting smushed by a garage door, while it is a brutal horror kill, I don't know, I'm always I feel
looked a little hammy when they did it. Yeah,
it's people question, of course, the science, but considering it was Stu, it's he probably rigged that shit, so that's the science to it.
True.
And I think Wes McGowan could fit through it also. Didn't she say that? She said so she had to act like she couldn't.
Well, I think what's really interesting, it's but we have to remember, and I always think this when we talk about Austin Powers movies, right? Now looking back, we think they're so cheesy and we think they're so cliche, but it's they invented the cliche. Yeah. So the idea of the Tatum death, when I saw that, I was I don't remember horror movies being this final destination-y about the way people were being killed, right? Yeah. And I almost feel the writer of Final Destination was well, that's cool. How do I make a whole movie where people just die in interesting ways like that? But I think it's weird. And I don't know who just said this a minute ago, but in Lesser Hands, there's no way that scene would have worked, right? Without Wes Craven's direction, without Rose's performance, without Kevin's script, there's no way a girl being killed in a dog door would be so upsetting and haunting and believable. But for some reason, with the three of them together, it really works in a way that, before, obviously, Marissa Jarett Winokur in Scary Movie, and then Shannon Elizabeth, doing the same speech, the speech has become sort of parodied and the scene has become kind of parodied, but this invented the parody. And so for me, it's I think I always still get a little bit of that. The Godfather always will scare you in a different way than everything else will.
It's definitely haunting, whenever I watch, especially this one, I do think of Scream 3. And I think of, Sydney walking through and seeing the sets of, Tatum's death and everything like that. And it takes me back to that. And it does feel a little bit haunting. It feels like we're watching something that, really happened. But it's a movie, but
No, I know what you mean, Ian. It's
I'll be Ian.
Sorry.
I'm not gonna be Ian. It's fine. We'll go.
Zach,
I'll be your Ian.
No, Zach, I know what you mean. Of all the things that don't work for me in Scream 3, the bringing Sydney back in that way to that trauma, always did kind of work. The scene in and that's maybe a bit of Nev's performance. She gives it such a power. You feel Sydney being affected by this. And so it works again in a way it probably shouldn't.
Yeah. if Nev wanted to be in, more of that movie,
Yeah.
it could have been much better. Because I don't know if you've noticed lately, but all horror movies are about trauma. And Scream 3 100% is about trauma.
Yeah.
And also voice changers that are magic, apparently.
Oh, I love that voice changer though. I love it. But
What's up, Zach?
I'm a very big fan of Scream 3. I really love that movie. But like, Sydney seeing that set and then Sydney seeing Tatum's body in this movie, it's like a direct parallel, right? And those are two different sorts of points of that trauma. If we want to talk about the trauma, like this is all of the trauma created in this last act, right? It's a lot. It's a lot that's going to carry throughout the rest of the franchise. Even like now in these little clips and snippets that we're getting for the new movie, they're taking it back to Stu's house, right? So we do have, and you're kind of talking about like, how Scream invented all of this stuff. We're revisiting tropes and ideas and everything that this movie did create.
And like, go ahead.
For this new movie, I do want Sydney to survive, just because like it's kind of fucking bleak if after all of this Sydney doesn't live.
Right.
Like the rest of them can die, and obviously I don't want them to, but they could. But it's like if Sydney dies, it's just like
it's gonna feel weird. It was like Jamie Lee Curtis dying at the beginning of Halloween Resurrection. It felt wrong.
Yeah,
just don't do it.
It really is all hope is lost, and not in the sense where all hope is lost and then you have something to save it. It's like, well, what's the fucking point?
She's not going to. She has a baby. I don't see them doing that. Like,
I don't
kill that baby.
That's too cool. The baby's the killer. The baby's
the baby on that poster.
Right. But but that poster thing I think is a trick, because technically Ghostface is on the poster.
Yes,
so
exactly.
So I think they're playing with people's like ideas of like that it has to be one of the faces you see and not the actual killer who's in the center of the poster.
But I think it's like all of the new
Don't
teens.
trust Quaid.
I think it's most of the new teens. I think there's going to be like a whole group of Ghostface.
They're gonna do. They're gonna pull that Emma Roberts shit.
Yeah.
But also, like, all of the movies always have the killer on the poster. Like,
right. I mean,
aside from, I think Debbie Salt is the only one that wasn't on the poster.
Crime. LaToya, name the crime.
I think he is.
Okay.
I don't think he was on the poster, but
was he not?
I don't think so. Right, but also, if it's going to be a group of teens, it's like, finally, Kevin's going to do the Scream 3 he wanted, which was just The Following, and that did not turn out well.
Although The Following was good for one season when they were having a threesome, but otherwise it did not work out so much.
I wanted to like The Following, especially because it's like, oh yeah, The Following is just the Scream 3 he wanted, basically, but they're all like super adults, but it's just like, because it got into that phase of Kevin Williamson just doing violence, especially towards women, just because he could. I watched all of A Stalker.
So there's two Scream 2 posters. Like that is that set up. One is Nev, David, Courtney. Well, both are Nev, David, Courtney, and then the four people interchange are Sarah Michelle Gellar, Jerry O'Connell, Liev Schreiber, and Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yeah, so he was on it. But in 3, what's his face is on it, I'm pretty sure.
Well, let's find out. I got a Google box open. In some, oh
wait, maybe not. Nope.
No, he's really not. So it's.
I mean, but also for the Scream 2 poster, it was supposed to be Jerry O'Connell, as we all know, and then they rewrote. So
yeah, interesting. Okay, see. Yeah, it's Dion Richmond gets a lot of placement on the poster. Parker Posey.
That's actually very impressive. Good for him.
Yeah, right? Yeah,
and then Dion Richmond, who is great, but of course, as he noted in not another teen movie, he was always just, the black guy.
Right.
And
that is whack.
Emma Roberts is on the poster for 4. But yeah, I mean, it's not that crazy that one of those, I mean, I assumed it had to be one of those people.
I mean, it's literally the entire cast of the film that we've seen, so I can't imagine how it's not one of them.
Yeah. But I could see what you're saying, that like, well, Ghostface is on the poster.
Who knows? So. I mean, who knows?
It's a funny bit, regardless.
Yeah, it works. I think
it totally worked. Everyone was like, oh my God. And they spent days trying to dissect it.
We're all F words here. We all also love Buffy. And how Buffy and Sydney both had like very terrible first sexual encounters. And how that alone.
Didn't we all?
Right.
John Mayer was playing for my first sexual encounter.
Oh my God.
It could have been Creed.
A blonde white man. Of course it was John Mayer playing at the time.
Wait, I have a side. Fastballs the Way was playing when I lost my heterosexual
I loved
virginity.
that song.
Wait, so I told that story at a bar with like some friends. I was like, but it was my heterosexual virginity, but I'm very gay. And one of the like friends of a friend that was there was like, oh my God, I'm friends with the lead singer of that band. I'm texting him this right now.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
I was like, make sure you tell him I'm gay. She's like, yeah, that's the best part of this story.
Your
The
song
punchline
turned my
here.
friend gay.
The way turned him gay.
But so yeah, Sydney and Billy, he's been pressuring her the whole movie, basically like, you'll get over your mom if we have sex. Like, no, it'll be fine. They have sex.
Like, Sydney, get over it. She died like a month ago. Come
Yeah,
on.
God.
My mom left my dad. It's the same thing.
He really tries. He
He
really.
really tries.
And you know
He tries
what?
too
If
much.
I were Sydney, I would have fallen for it because it is a ski roll, Rich.
Right, yeah.
If that's
That
the
man-
bar for creating serial killers, though, fair opportunity for Sydney and 5. And you know what? We will support and we will accept.
I mean, Billy invented incels.
But so then he gets like fake murdered.
Do we think?
and
Do you think he stays up there the whole time, or does he put on the costume and run around?
I think he puts on the
I think he did the little dance. I just had sex dance, and then he puts on the costume.
Okay. Priorities.
confetti falls and he's like, I'm no longer a virgin.
Also, do we really believe Billy was a virgin?
I mean, that's the problem is, even looking back now, I'm like, they just don't look. I mean, they're not. Did they say what year they're in? I don't think they ever say what year they're in, right? High school.
Well, I mean, the sequel takes place a year later, and they're in college.
Yeah,
so I
that's
would
like-
assume
The default in all teen things is sophomore, but because of the way things go with the next movie, they have to be seniors. Yeah,
That's true. That's true. Yeah. But so then I remember watching it, and like, so when Ghostface kills Billy, we get all those weird rooms where it's like there are a lot of doors
I
connected.
do get confused. Okay, so
Yeah.
we were talking about the layout being like really like pieced together in your mind.
yeah, it's that
Jarett.
Scooby-Doo shit.
The fucking stairs that lead to all the Winchester house is what.
Right. Well, I just think
upstairs
it's like
is.
it's a giant staircase like this. It's a bunch of rooms around this, and then a staircase down, and then the one up to the attic. I mean, I'm not
Jarett is
telling you.
about to drop schematics.
We
No,
should have done that. We should have had.
No,
like a
I mean, listen, I
screen.
couldn't like tell you what's in all of the rooms, but I get it. It's like a round thing where all the things kind of connected, and then up and down.
Yeah.
It's like the Hallowell
like a house.
house. Well, I could tell you the geography to a point, and then I'm just like, what the fuck?
Right. I know. I know.
Really?
Well, there was one season where all of a sudden there was just like a different bathroom that we had not seen for like 5 years, and I was like, did Cole build a bathroom? Like
I used to put that shit together on The Sims just all the time. It never made sense. I never understood. It took me a very, very like embarrassingly long time to figure out that was a set and not them filming at the house.
Yeah.
As a kid, I always thought like all shows that had a house, like that was real. That was a house. They filmed in a house.
Well, because there's always exteriors, right? So you go to San Francisco, it's there. Obviously, they film there. You go to Ravello Drive, it's Buffy's house. You go inside, it's Buffy's bedroom. Like in my mind, that's what it was.
But so this is when Sydney gets chased up to the attic, right? And this is when she
falls out the window and then sees Tatum.
Because I always think really good chases in this one.
Yeah, because I always think that's a really good chase. And I also always think like, man, I would have been like, my back, fuck, if I fell into, even though it's like covered, that would still hurt your back. But
there are seats in boats like that. There are seats.
It would hurt a lot. I was always amazed though, like from it, like going back to the Wes Craven of all, the direction of that fall is so interesting, right? Because like they do such a good job choreographing it where Sydney falls, and she falls in a way where she would never see Tatum's body before the minute she sees it. And then she rolls off in a way where she still wouldn't see it, and then goes up so fast that she would look right past it and wouldn't notice it. So it's like she's standing in front of it, and yet they make it so understandable that she doesn't see it until the moment she does. And it's like, that's the stuff that I feel like Wes was so good at, right? Like he really put people in the situation where all of their steps felt real, like you were experiencing the real emotion as it was going through, versus like, well, we don't want her to see it yet because it's going to be weird, so let's just have her pretend she doesn't see it or something.
No, yeah, you're right. It is like even the way she rolls off, if she just kept, it would have been,
It's smart. It's really, really smart.
You know, like, I feel bad for Sydney. Like, the Nev Campbell's like reaction to just seeing her best friend like smooshed in this garage, like, Jesus.
I mean, she's such a good actor that that's why Sydney works. You know what I mean? Like, yes, it's written really well and you get the pathos and all of that, but like, I mean, I'm jumping ahead, but we don't have to go into it. But like, the micro expressions on Nev's face when Billy and Stu are doing their kitchen speech and like she's learning this information, it's like, it's so impressive what she does as an actor in this movie, and not like the big swings and not the screaming, but like the little moments that make it feel like a real person going through trauma is what grounds, I think, the next 3 films, you know, and maybe this next 4th one, in this belief that this person is like, that continues to have their entire life like taken from them over and over again.
That's a big conversation that needs to be had, is the like, Sydney has no life. She zero life at all. I mean, that even starts from fucking Maureen before this movie even is a thing. She's already living in, you know, fictitious movie land, dealing with trauma. Like,
it's her damn insane. Whore mother.
Her whore mother. Sydney's whore mother.
And every time she tries to have a life, like, you know, in 2 she goes to college and it gets ruined again. So like, the being the recluse in 3 like kind of makes sense, and then
it still gets fucked up.
And it sucks because like Laurie Strode has Michael Myers. She knows who's coming at her, right? And Sydney's like, Tuesday, the baker is mad at me today. He's gonna put on a fucking ghost face costume.
It's
really just, oh god, she's so good.
Yeah, no, I really do think like Nev Campbell and Courtney Cox, you wouldn't think they would be like fantastic horror, but they just are, right? They just really are. But so then she runs out and does she have the moment in the car after this, or is it before the van?
So what happens is, because I did just watch it again this afternoon, she falls and then we immediately go to Dewey and Gail returning from their walk, and they split up. Dewey goes in the house, Gail goes to the van to find Kenny.
Okay.
But Kenny dies though.
Kenny's dead. So Kenny's dead at that. Oh wait, no, that's got to be backwards, because
this is how it feels to me. She falls.
She falls, runs to the van to Kenny, gets in the van. Right. Then they have the 30-second delay because he's going to kill Randy, and then thank you.
So we get Jamie Kennedy's Randy yelling, "Jamie, behind you," to the TV screen. He realizes that there's a delay, which Gail had found out earlier.
Which is also such good setup. Like the fact that they make it this nonchalant thing, like 30 minutes earlier in the film, like this, that it plays out again. Like, this is such a good script. And I don't have to tell anyone listening to this or the 3 of you this, but like,
hey guys, did you hear the script for Scream?
Did you hear that Scream is an amazing script? But it's like every time I watch it, I always feel like I'm impressed over and over again by like how good it actually is.
I will say I only recently realized that when Kenny does get his throat slit, he shows her the door to get out of in the back of the van. Like, he says the door and he like points to it. And she gets out that way. And I had never noticed that.
Is that what he's doing? I thought he was just doing a death turn.
No, he says door.
Like dying. Okay.
He says door, and that's the little like back door she gets out of.
There you go. Kenny was the only one worth the damn in this movie.
That's a new thing we've learned about Scream.
What about like Nev Campbell's final look? Do you which one is y'all's favorite?
Like what she's wearing in the final
through all of them, yeah.
I mean, well, the first one, of course, she has the post-coital jean jacket, which is very important.
Yes,
but I think she looks cute in it.
I love it.
I know, but like there is something to be said for that like green shirt leather moment that she has at the end of 2 with like the necklace. It looks really cool. But I have to go with this one as well. The jean jacket. And then also, this is going to sound so gross, but like the way she's covered in blood through the course of the end of the first movie, like I find so visually appealing. Like there's the thing on her cheek and her hair. Like there is something
about that in horror movies, especially like, you know, going back to Jamie Lee Curtis, like, you know, her blood placements in the first Halloween, like there is something very visually appealing about a good cut, you know. Even in Buffy, Buffy's got like, you know, in season 7, the over the eyebrow one. It's very good.
For sure.
You hear that, LaToya? They like seeing women bleeding and cut up.
Sorry, I moved on to think. You ever think about how Sydney's dad sucks?
Just sitting in a closet doing nothing. For
Made no noises at all.
What a
Throughout
piece
the
of
whole party.
shit.
Just maybe a
like figure something out. Your daughter's saving the goddamn world right now.
no. And then where the fuck
Just
is
like
the after
Buffy's
that?
dad.
Oh my
Who?
gosh.
Don't talk about we don't talk about him. He's in LA.
Send
Oh,
out.
Hank fucking Summers. If he'd show up in an episode of Angel and still not seen his daughter.
It was like I came here. I was just really hoping this would be one of the weeks she came here also.
But so then we get isn't it right after this when she escapes, she goes into the car, right? With the keys?
Yeah,
or does she go back in the house?
In the car first, right?
So when she gets out of the van, that's when Gail and Dewey come back, and then Sydney comes back, and that's when Dewey comes out of the door with the stab, and that's when she gets in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because I think that car scene like is so good,
good. It's funny. Like I forget how effective that scene is when you think about the film, because it's like there's so many other big moments, and it's like the fall in the house. You forget that there's this really great like tight 2-minute scene just in this one trap location when he drops those keys and bangs on the window. It's just like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
You forget how much of the whole thing is like I'm trying to escape, like just not stick around for all this bullshit, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And then Gail goes in her van. For the longest time, I didn't know what she said because the like, is it ADR? The ADR is like very weird for that scene. But I do love the like, I think it's like a very iconic, like with the blood coming down and she puts on the windshields, and then it's Kenny and she's like, I'm sorry, Kenny, but get the fuck off my windshield. Like it's just so good. It's
really good. Courtney was really good at sort of like the hysterical lines, like when Gail is in hysterics, and like there's something about her voice that I think lends itself really, really well to like scream talking through those big moments.
Yes, I think that's really accurate. Yeah. because then she goes to like drive away and sees Sydney and then crashes her car. And Sydney goes back in the house, and Sydney finds it's Stu and Billy, or Stu and Randy that are like arguing with her, and that's when we get her fuck you both moment with the gun running back in the house. And then Zach, who comes tumbling down the stairs?
I don't know. Who? I don't know. It's Billy, this son of a bitch. Yeah, upstairs.
This dreamboat.
How dare you? Do you like his blood paste? LaToya, you like all the blood? Okay.
I've met Skeet Ulrich once in person, and still get it. Could get
He looks great now. He still looks like pretty good.
Jared's like,
yep. Seeing it in the bubble,
like,
the cloud, you know. He comes tumbling down, and we get we get this whole final sort of thing with Sydney and Stu and Billy, and Billy shoots Randy, and like what do you guys remember being surprised by all of these like little dominoes falling? It was effective.
I similar to Ian, like I had not seen like a lot of horror movies before Scream. I was 14 or 15, and this was really like my first entree into horror. And so the tropes that maybe I would identify now, right, like are not things I even knew to think about at the time. And so, I mean, I remember thinking Billy was fully dead. I was like, oh my God, it wasn't Billy. Like, that's crazy. Who can it be? I do feel like I remember when he showed up again, I was like, oh, you know what it is? When he shows up again, and then he does, there's the moment when they let Randy in, and Skeet, whether it's Skeet's performance or Billy or whatever, like to me, that's the moment he drops the veil, because he's too animated, right? Like he's just falling down the stairs and he's coughing, and he's like, quick, come inside. I was like, there's something about the energy to there that I was like, oh, he seems like he's okay. And he was.
And he was. And I mean, him licking his fingers.
It's really good.
It is a whole moment.
Yeah.
And then so Sydney turns and she sees Stu, and she's like, Stu, help me. And he just like the surprise Sydney, that's like iconic, right?
It's
like
so good.
And then they kind of they kind of like explain to her their master plan, right? And they're just going over everything.
Hot.
And how how iconic it is that part too. Just the way it's all set, and they have her cornered in like just a standard kitchen, right? And like you got a fluorescent light above, and it's just all so perfect because you know you think of horror movie kind of climaxes like this, and it's not even this casual. Like everything is usually a little bit more, you know. That's where you pull out, you know, all your flair, and this is so casual in the way they're doing this.
Well, it made sense too, because, you know, they're high school kids. And so the idea, like trapping her in the kitchen because there's an island and she can't go either way is just, it's so smart. I don't know if you guys have heard, but this is a very smart script. But it's like, that's like very, very cool thing about it, Zach. It's just like how ordinary everything in this movie is, right? And after this movie, things get more fantastical. You know, you've got the car crash in 2, but it's like, this is such an ordinary horror movie. And like, I think that's why it's really effective. It's because people are dying in garages and you know, like in their houses, and it's just like this, it's all could happen.
I mean, no one is, I mean, like you said, in 2 we get more like we get the sound stage or whatever, which I do think is a good scene,
an amazing scene.
I mean, it's a great set. It probably should have been the final act set for Scream 3, honestly. We're like really thinking about it.
Totally. But like, I want to touch on something while we're talking about this. Like, I think what was really interesting for me, thinking about noticing stuff again in rewatching it this time, I was really taken by how much it seemed like Matthew Lillard made Stu his own, like made him his own character. Like no one else would have or could have played it like Matthew Lillard did. And he makes so many big, strong choices that all really worked. And that's like a very crazy thing to happen for an actor of his age at the time. Like to be so over the top and so like loquacious and just like it's such a interesting, like successful choice that I don't often feel like you see that much in terms of like at least movies like this.
Yeah, especially because that character, right, is that character should be the sidekick to Billy, and Billy should be like the one standing out a little bit more. But I mean, even the way they're kind of positioned is Billy in the forefront, but we got Matthew Lillard in the back doing all this crazy shit, and he's you know arguably more memorable than even Billy was.
Do we have an actor like Matthew Lillard of this like era? I'm like the closest I can think is maybe Billy Magnuson. Maybe.
Yeah, I could see that. That's a really good choice. I would go with that. I think because he's making some real big choices in everything he makes choices. Because it's not like the Jared Leto's of the world, right, who are doing the Joker. It's like these smaller actors who are getting these parts that they're turning into memorable things based on the choices they're making. Like even Billy in like Into the Woods, which is not a movie I care for. Like he's so interesting and memorable because he's doing these big things that we're talking about.
Yeah, like Billy Magnuson in like Game Night versus Billy Magnuson in Made for Love, or like he's doing these things and he's taking these swings that in a way like I don't think a lot of actors, especially young actors, are doing the way Lillard did.
It like even him and like Ingrid Goes West, like he's just like he strikes me as someone who's like, okay, this is a 4-scene role and I have one line in each scene and I'm going to spend a month coming up with my character's backstory because I'm going to create a full person for this little crumb of a character. The one thing I will say, I find no fault with the film. It does not make any sense that they start to attack each other before Sydney's dead. Unless it's some performative, look at me and my boyfriend penetrating each other. I want you to see this before you die. Like that's the only thing that I don't really understand why it happened.
Well, I think Billy, honestly, he expected to survive and he was planning to kill Stu is the thing.
I think so, yeah.
He's like, because Stu's not going to go as deep as I'm going with him. Because he's not in this realm, obviously.
But honestly, LaToya, that makes sense because, you know, that's obviously something he learned from his mother because she wasn't going to let Mickey survive too. There could only be one killer, you know? Yes. So it's kind of like, perhaps you are correct.
But wait, isn't it before? No, they've already done the stabbing. Or is it before that Gail comes in?
Stab each other, then Gail shows up.
Because Courtney Cox's delivery of the like, I got a story for you. Like the reporter Left for Dead gets the gun, stumbles on you two dipshits. Like,
so sure too. So sure.
So good. That goddamn safety.
Yeah.
I think at that point, I had not heard a theater scream as loudly as they screamed the instant Courtney Cox showed up again.
Yeah. Because I oh my God, I fully trusted her too. Right. And her whole performance in that one part also, just the shaking of the hand with the gun, like, it gets me every time.
So good.
She's so good.
Why have we, as a society, not been better to Courtney Cox, star of Cougar Town? How dare all of us?
LaToya, lead the charge.
I should.
I will say, I feel like we've been pretty good to Courtney Cox. She made millions of dollars every week.
We could be better.
Courtney Cox is
for like 5 years.
But also, like, considering how great she is in these films, like,
yeah,
her film career could have been so much better.
That's fair.
But also, if you think about, like, I mean, first of all, yes, 100%. But like after Friends and these movies, she did Dirt. That was 2 or 3 seasons.
Dirt was bad. I did watch all 2 seasons. Yes,
I watched all of it. You know,
I've never heard of that.
I'll tell you about Dirt all day long.
I mean, she basically plays like Bonnie Fuller, editor of Us Weekly, except Bonnie Fuller is also like a raging sex addict and drug addict, which, you know, I don't know her for personally, so who knows?
I will say Shannon Sussman, very hot in that show. She is a ghost mostly, but also very hot.
Yes, that was where I discovered Ryan Eggold, because he played one of like the like himbos or something. Anyway,
yeah, Rick Fox is also there as a himbo.
Yeah, there's a lot of hot people on Dirt. You should go back and revisit it. It's a terrible show.
It was like before they did Damages and realized, we could just put a good show on.
Exactly. But no, I mean, I agree with you. Courtney does deserve like more credit for being like, she's the only one of the Friends who never won an Emmy, right? With the exception, like, so it's like, there is that feeling that like, she does get kind of like uncelebrated in the way that the rest of the people do.
Yeah. No offense, literally no offense to Jennifer Aniston at all. But like, Courtney Cox could have had at least a little bit of her film career, right?
I mean, for sure. Although, I mean, yeah. I
think Jennifer Aniston could have been Gail Weathers, you know? That could have been a thing.
I mean, Courtney does when she gets
she could have done it, I think. It would have been it would have been different. I think she would have done well with a different version, but like she could have been. I feel like all of the ladies of Friends could have been
Lisa Kudrow, Gail Weathers.
It all would have been different, but also great.
That would be. I actually think that would be really good. Lisa Gail Weathers.
I can see Lisa Kudrow as Sydney in the kitchen. Like, okay, very Romeo and Michelle.
But I do hate that. Yeah, she just gets like kicked, and you know he's like, I know something you don't, and like,
yeah.
I wish she had gotten like one shot in, and then okay.
Is there a moment where we see him look down at the safety, or is it? Do we not see that?
I assumed. Oh, you mean like when he?
I need to look that. Like if his eyes dart, maybe. For a second.
Yeah, that's
I need
a good
to
question.
Look back at that.
Yeah, I don't know if you like see him look, but it's good. And I also, as a kid, for some reason, was extremely, I didn't know what it was at the time, but like I was very into the moment when he like cracks his neck when he's standing over her. There's just like something like the sound and the way his neck, I don't know. For years, I was like, I'm going to crack my neck too, because Billy did that. But which also was the only thing I've tried to emulate. Well,
I mean, his final, like his big final plans, right? And how everything's going his way. And he like kicks Gail and everything. It's him blowing his load, right? Like he's like so just empowered, you know, he feels like just hot shit.
Totally.
And then like, Sydney's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do like Matthew Lillard. He's like, "You're gonna love this one, babe," and he's like, "Oh," and then he like panics because she's gone. Like I think that's a really good.
I love him like pointing at the like stabbing his finger onto like the counter. Yeah. He's like, it was right here, man. You know,
that's what I mean. Like these choices, they're just so strong and they're all so good.
Yeah,
yeah, and like. And then we get the moment of like, they're on the phone with her, right? And I think it's so good. And I love that he like ad-libbed some of it.
My mom's going to be so mad at me.
It's such a good line.
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of ad-libbing happening in the Matthew Lillard performance. There's either been retconned into the script or like, there's so many things that he says that don't really sound like Kevin or the way Kevin has been writing, you know, throughout the rest of it. So, I mean, and they're not like that crazy, but it's just like the little character moments. He's just clearly like threading through all of those moments, those scenes.
Yeah, and like, you know, when he's like, my mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me, and then Billy throws the phone on him, he's like, you hit me with the phone.
Dick. Yeah.
It's all so good. And like the thing about Sydney is that Gail kind of throws herself into the fray. Sydney wants nothing more than to be left alone, right? But when it comes down to it, Sydney will fucking stab you with an umbrella, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Sydney was getting in fights in the Woodsboro school parking lot. I think she was ready for a moment like this.
You don't get that right hook in the fucking police alleyway just out of nowhere all of a sudden.
I'll send you a copy. Bam, bitch goes down.
Not appreciated. No.
It's such a good, like, and it's such a good last act too, because like that's when it does get like the whole Matthew Lillard like TV thing like is very, you know, like horror movie kill-y, but it again, like it all feels natural. She's just using what's there, right? She's just doing whatever, and that's what makes sense about what we're talking about before, about it being a very simple film. She's not like bringing him to a TV and throwing him through a flat screen. She's just dumping a heavy thing on top of him. It just happens to be a television.
Right. Yeah. And like, and I do love the, like, I always had a thing for you, Sid. She's like, in your dreams. And that's when she pushes it so good.
Yeah, it really is.
Like Sidney Prescott just like has the, like I said, she wants to be left alone, but like when she needs to, she will throw down. Like there's she's not going to take any bullshit. Right.
This is why I love every Sidney Prescott meme. Like the ones like, oh, call an ambulance, but not for me. Where it's like Wendy Williams talking about the killer.
Yeah.
That's one of my, like, I know Wendy Williams in general is very unhinged, but that's my favorite, like, unhinged Wendy Williams thing.
She just keeps talking about the killer.
The killer. Like, Martha Stewart knows that she talks about the killer. Like, what? But yeah, I do,
Wendy. We love you,
I
Wendy.
do think that I think I just saw that like today, that like meme. What is that video even from, LaToya?
I don't know what that one is. Like, oh, someone call an ambulance. Not for me.
It's like that weird old man with a gun. I don't even know. But that is Sidney Prescott, right? Like that is.
So good.
So she knocks TV over on Stu, but then Billy is back, right? Billy gets back up. And I always thought this was like very gross that she puts her finger in his cut. It's gross, but it's good. Yeah.
It's so
like
good.
And so then Gail does get her moment, right? Gail fucking shoots him. And I love, like, I mean, you guys mentioned like the way her hand shakes, like, works so well because I would also be shaking if I was in this scenario. And I like that she even still has like the beat of, guess the safety was off that time, you asshole. Like, and she's just so good.
Courtney Cox's hair throughout the Scream franchise is that of a woman who knows she should be in more feature film.
That is main character hair.
That is, I mean, it is, I mean, oh God. I mean, it's just.
I broke Jarett.
No, it's just, again, you know, Courtney Cox's hair in the Scream movies is the Matthew Lillard of hair, just making strong choices at every turn.
I want to mix and match. I want to mix and match the hairs and put the bangs.
Was the only episode of Buffy that Courtney ever saw amends, and is that why Scream 3 happens?
She was watching it as she was doing it. She's like,
and she got so distracted by the beauty that was happening, then snowing, that she's like, "What?"
He's like, "Well, this is a great episode of television. This hair is good, actually." She's like, Angel's like, "Am I a righteous man?" She's like, snip, snip, snip.
You know, she dyed it black. She cut them bangs, and you know, she was sitting there in her mirror, you know, kind of like playing with it a little bit. She liked it. She was into it.
She loved it until the movie came out, and we all started making fun of it. She thought she looked amazing.
She loved it until Twitter, right?
It is that episode of Friends where Phoebe cuts her hair. That's what happened.
It's just, it just looks so weird. Like, it just looks so strange. Like, I don't know how you look at yourself in a mirror and you're like, this is the choice. This is the right choice.
Were those short bangs a style? Because from the ones we all know who have the short bangs, we're all laughing at them and we were alive then. Because it's just those two. we laugh every time.
Alyssa Milano does have them in 2 or 3 episodes of Charmed as well.
I did think they looked really
2
good
or
on
3
Alyssa
episodes of
Milano,
Charmed,
though.
and they stopped that shit.
Yeah, they're like, but it's
They
like,
were able to
liked
hide
it.
that because she was fucking cold, so they were sweaty anyway.
exactly. But
Zach,
it's like,
did you just say you like them?
I
Alyssa
liked
Milano?
them on Alyssa Milano in Charmed. I was
So
into it.
Alyssa has the best version of those bangs, I gotta say.
But it's like, it's just, it is weird because in my memory, they're the only 3 people in the world who had those bangs at that time. Like, it wasn't a trend. It was just them. Like, they were in some group chat and we're like, you know what we should do? Let's get really weird bangs. And just
They did it
make
together,
a thing.
all of them.
Yeah.
They went to the stylist together. But the rest of them they're at least, I don't know, they look better. Courtney's they're very wispy. They're very like, I don't know. There's something about them that
they're crazy.
They don't even sit. They're like all over the place.
It looks like almost like a fake mustache that she put on her forehead.
I miss the chunky highlights of Courtney.
That's my favorite.
Courtney Cox is because she has them in the second one too, right?
The red or the blonde.
Have a chunky highlight. I had some highlights in 7th grade because Kelly Rowland, and I should have known I was not straight then.
What color were they? Were they
They were the red highlights because of Kelly Rowland.
We need pictures for the podcast.
I have no pictures, unfortunately. I have looked though. Unfortunately, my 7th grade yearbook was in black and white, so that's how you're not gonna see them.
I had the blonde highlights in 8th grade, so I had the bowl cut, and so I had like blonde highlights in them.
Did not my best. The bowl cut?
Listen, everyone had a bowl cut back then.
Is this like you trying to retcon that into existence? Like Courtney Ellis and Sarah were trying to convince the bangs were a thing.
Don't abandon me, Jarett. You know it's true.
Justify
so
the
true.
bowl cut.
So true.
As usual, one of these recordings turns into us all attacking Ian.
God,
I got in trouble for that one time. I can't do that anymore. I'm not allowed.
So they kill the killers. I gotta say, one of my a bit that I love is just them all screaming, and it's the dad. Like, I love that when the dad comes out. Like, I mean, that's a picture you see everywhere, right? Of Courtney's got her hands up, and like Randy and Sydney are screaming, and it just.
But that's the moment he decides to get lively when they've got a gun in their hand.
It could have been over and it's done.
Quick,
like, oh, the killers are dead. Let me come out now.
Yeah, throw yourself out of that closet when we needed it, like 2 hours ago at the party when we're surrounded by 50 people.
Fucking ridiculous. Yeah.
You could have helped your daughter not go through all of this.
He's not really trying to help his daughter do much of anything. He's always gone on trips and leaving her alone to dial 911 on her computer.
Yeah.
To paraphrase Faith Hill, this bitch.
I will say, I'm just glad that she didn't have to have her father get murdered too, right? Like, I'm just glad that
right,
because that's usually the move.
I feel like she's better
be a double
off
orphan.
only having to worry about herself, though.
I agree. Like, he's just an albatross. He's bringing her groceries and later, and like, we don't need that.
Well, that's why they know not to. Yeah, well, that's why they know not to go after him anymore, because it's like he's useless. That's not anything.
She's not coming to rescue him. They probably there was a Scream 3.5 probably, and they had him. They sent a ransom note, and she said, "Can't be bothered. Can't be bothered.
I got enough going on."
In one of the stabs, he's actually like the protagonist because of misogyny. Ooh, who plays her dad in Stab? Who was like a hot older man that they're gonna just choose to put over Sydney and the Stabs?
It's like Treat Williams or something.
I went for Josh Brolin, actually. That's what I'm going for.
Josh Brolin is a 90-year-old man, LaToya.
90?
Oh no, I was thinking James
Not James
Brolin.
Brolin.
No, I was
Josh
thinking James.
Brolin.
I was thinking James Brolin too. I was like,
when you said it, I was
Josh
like,
Brolin, his hot son.
I was like, Jarett, I don't know that he's that much older than us.
the Brolin boys.
The attractive older man, not his dad.
I love that. I love that he's going from snapping the world away in the Avengers to doing Stab 5, playing Sydney's father.
So we get she meets her dad, and I gotta say, I also love the bit of it ends on Gail getting her story.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I've said this 80,000 times. A lesser movie would have punished Gail for being ambitious, for being severe. Yeah. Like, she would have absolutely died in that last act or before that.
She would have died in any of these movies for that very reason.
Right? Yeah. But instead, not only was she right the whole fucking time, but she gets the story. And like, I don't know, I love that as the ending.
She was right. Yes, Cotton Weary is a little weirdo, but his only crime was fucking the whore mother because he's hot as fuck.
Yeah.
And of course, Scream 3 reminded us he's hot as fuck because Liev Schreiber wanted to show off how jacked he was.
And we are not mad about it.
How much of the promotional material up to now have y'all seen? Like everything, or are you trying to keep away from it?
I watched go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've watched a trailer. I don't know how many trailers there have been. I've watched one. And I'm like, is this all the opening? Are they just going to do the Scream 4 opening again, basically? And I saw, of course, our favorite poster. It's like the killer is on this poster. Yeah. I'm not seeking anything out. The only thing I'm seeking out is to add a little V to the end.
Right. Fucking do it, shit, LaToya. We already said Sharpie. Get your Sharpie out. Go
carry it around. Yeah, same. I watched that very first trailer. There were like they had like the door locking on the phone. And then seen the poster, and I've seen the photos that like came out of like, but it's just single character shots. I'm actively not watching anything else.
Yeah.
I don't see the need to. Like, all it's going to do is show me things that I
and we're so close to it, right? Like, we really can hold on.
30 days from today, one of the many Scream accounts that I seem to follow reminded me of that.
For Scream 5, I think, like, I don't know, like, I mean, I'm glad you all agree, because I really, really don't want Sydney to die. I just feel like you said, LaToya, that's just bleak, right? Like, she survived all of this, and it's like, you survive, and then you get murdered.
So, yes, you could create a new quote unquote final girl, but like just let her live. Do
you think Neve Campbell would allow that? Because she doesn't have to come back for anything like this. So
but also kind of so she doesn't have to come back. But you know,
I think that this film is probably designed to be a handoff from the former generation to the next generation to some degree, right?
Yeah.
And the way they lied about 4.
Yeah, well, right. So who knows? But they can't do that again. We just saw that. I have this weird theory. I mean, Emma Roberts is still alive. What if the killer in this one is literally actual Emma Roberts, and she's just like mad and just comes?
You know what? I'm okay with it.
I fucking signed this contract to be number one of the call, and you bitches.
She's like, I made that movie. I got a taste of blood, and now I'm really killing people.
And how happy she would be to do it too.
My aunt is Julia Roberts. What the fuck?
I was Nancy Drew. God damn it.
Sarah Shahi? And they're like, no, the other Nancy Drew.
I have a theory that's based on absolutely nothing, but just like in thinking about what this could be. Obviously, Sydney doesn't live in Woodsboro anymore, right? And Gail, they don't live in Woodsboro. The film takes place.
Dumb as fuck to do so.
But the film takes place in Woodsboro, obviously. So I feel like, and this is again based on nothing, Dewey is the opening kill because he is still living in Woodsboro. And that's the thing that gets Sydney and Gail to come back. Because what else would get them to come back to Woodsboro? They have no fucking family there. I mean, all of Sydney's family has been murdered in that town. She's not going to live there. She's not going to come back. But I think Dewey is the only thing that brings these two people back.
Yeah.
But also David does seem to be in a fair amount of the film based on what we saw in that one trailer. So I don't really know.
I would say David Arquette, saw him wrestle January 1st, 2020. Great experience in my life. The before times. It's good stuff. Also, Zach, I have a question for you.
Go for it.
Remember when you thought that Marley Shelton and Heather Graham were the same woman?
Same person still. I just figured out that Percy Jackson is not in this movie.
No.
He said that to me. He was like, oh, that Percy Jackson, they're casting him as a teen forever. I was like, what?
Was it Jack Quaid?
No, 13 Reasons Why. Dylan Minnette, I think, is who you're talking about. They actually do look a lot alike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were texting and he just kept saying Percy Jackson. And I was like, but who are you talking about? I was like, Logan Lerman is not in this movie.
Wait, who did you think Judy was?
Because he thought that Marley Shelton and Heather Graham were the same person.
You tell me they're not. You tell me they're not.
Her role from earlier in the franchise.
Got it. Okay. I mean, I can see it. I can see it.
You don't have to agree. It's okay. It's going to remain in my mind. And
I can see how you would think it.
Yeah. We all know how he would think it because we've lived through the aughts.
Right.
But at the same time, it was very funny because he was so adamant.
Like, he was very sure.
Because we were talking and we were doing this live stream and we were talking about it. And I was going on for a very long time watching their faces, thinking I said something weird, but they didn't explain this to me for like 5 minutes. They let me go for a good while.
That's amazing.
Then at one point,
when Heather Graham returns to the movies, I'm like, you mean Heather Graham who played Casey Becker instead?
It's okay. God. And you know what? I'm not changing it. It's in my mind.
Good. It's our favorite bit.
Anything.
That's great.
So, okay. We were kind of talking about this when we were going over part 1, how they do an opening kill or an opening that it makes it fresh, that keeps it going, but also doesn't fall into its own tropes, like all of that. We're not talking about the opening, so you guys don't get to talk about that. What about the ending? What about this last act, this ending? How do they make it successful and something memorable and something we're all going to leave the theater really excited about?
They reveal Marley Shelton and Heather Graham were the same person the whole time.
Oh my gosh, can you see the double team up for them as killers?
Could you imagine there's like unmasked and it's just the two of them and you're like, wait a minute, they are two people.
Marley Shelton is the Gabriel to Heather Graham.
I feel like
in the back of her.
Deputy Judy like definitely dies in this one, right? Like,
I can't believe she lived through 4.
Yeah.
And again, Zach, Marley Shelton, she's sugar and spice. Heather Graham is every other fucking movie.
Literally
Explain it to me. It's not going to make sense.
Honestly, it's a really good question because it can't, like, they're not going to like Fast and Furious 9 and go to space, so like there's not really
spoiler alert.
Oh, sorry, guys.
Do they really go to space in that movie?
Ian, you don't know.
He's not gonna fucking watch this shit.
I don't know what you do to level it up. So I'm like, and you can't, and like killing Sydney or Gale like would be the thing, but I don't think they can do that either. The only thing that I could think, honestly, is that they find a way to give Sydney true peace in some way, and like that would like end it for her, but like I don't know what that even entails.
LOL to that idea too, right? It's not gonna happen.
I agree. She
will never know peace. Never know
for life.
Because the assumption is there will be more movies after this. That is what they are intending for. And if there are more movies, you have to have Sydney be like, oh God, I'm just getting too old for this.
If they're gonna keep doing this, Sydney needs her own action figure. She needs a doll. She needs all of it. We don't have any of that for her. But I guess maybe the question should be then, how do you continue? What's the best way to continue the franchise?
I mean, and now you're saying she's like her own doll and everything. Like, there was a little bit of idol worship in Scream 4, but maybe even go further with it in this version too. Because you know how we're all weird. People want to TikTok with Sidney Prescott now. Oh
gosh, if I see fucking TikTok in this movie.
Oh no. Woodsboro TikTok challenge. I can start. I can feel it in my bones now.
I mean, like the thing, like to me, this like the fact that I would have been fine if they did a Scream 5 and did not bring the original 3 back and did a whole original story. It was new directors, it's new writers. There was an opportunity to really separate the two. The fact that they are bringing them back and Kevin makes me feel like there is some kind of unfinished business that they need to sort of fix. But I just don't know. I don't really know what that is, because unless like they live in a world where everyone still thinks Jill was the hero and now Sydney's the killer. Like it just like there's not really like a reason for them to be back. So I think understanding like what the there is like still my big question mark about this movie's existence with these 3 characters in it.
I mean, I think you're absolutely right, Jarett. If there's like a world in which they still think Jill's like this like Messiah kind of like thing, that'd be very interesting. Because obviously we have continuity between these movies, but if it is that kind of continuity, it'd be very interesting.
Because Billy and Stu were framing Sydney's dad, right?
So that was what they were trying to do.
There are like little snippets of them in the kitchen again. What if like that is kind of realized this time around, and Sydney is framed for something, and that goes through, that pushes through.
And it's more about clearing her name, so she has to come back to clear her name in some way.
And that's how we know that those gossip bitches from Scream 1 are the killers. Like I was saying, I've been saying for months. Yes, she had like a homicidal break. Blah blah blah.
Oh, the girls in the bathroom.
Yep.
Did you know that was T. Ulrich's girlfriend?
Yeah.
Oh, that tracks. Yeah, that feels right. What if those girls from the bathroom team up with Portia de Rossi and Rebecca Gayheart from Scream 2, and it's like all the white women who've been hurt by Sydney not being their friends over time come back to exact their revenge on her now.
Will Portia bring back those eyebrows?
Oof, I hope so. They were gorgeous. I mean, I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm loving this path that we're completely making up, this idea that Sydney needs to clear her name.
I know. Poor Sydney already, though.
I know.
Sydney,
we're giving her more shit.
But
as we all know, Sydney hates other women, and she can take it down a peg or two.
She does not support other women.
But that would get Sydney back to Woodsboro. Like, if she needed to do something, like, you know what I mean? Like, that could accomplish that. I don't know. Like, I'm just very much stuck on this idea that Sydney would not go back to Woodsboro. Yeah. And so there needs to be a something for that to happen. And as of now, all I believe is clear your name, more and Dewey.
Yeah, I think whoever the killers do end up being, I think they're getting away with it this time. I think that was the direction they should have gone in for, and I think they'll do that. They'll realize that this time around.
So that's what was, again, in the original Scream 2 script. That's how it was supposed to end.
Was it?
With both Jerry O'Connell and Elise Neal getting away with it, and then it goes ... and then we go into Scream 3.
Right. I like that, because at least that would give, like, I mean, and that also does kind of mesh well with this current iteration of like Jason Blum horror movies, where how the Halloweens are connected, and so you're actually creating sort of like a longer narrative. So I don't mind that idea at all, that like they get away and then it's kind of like a chase or a hunt, or like the quest to bring them down. That's interesting to me.
I don't like it.
Gosh,
Ethan, fuck all you. You dumb bitches.
It's not a happy ending story, Ian. They're not going to do that this time. It's not going to be happy. There's no graceful fade, out tracking shot,
Yeah, I don't think there's anyone we want to winning, unless, again, it's Kirby, and she kills them all.
I'm liking this, actually. Okay, I'm going to go with this now. I like this idea.
I just want to give Sydney a break. I feel like...
Well, if Nev wanted to give Sydney a break, she wouldn't have signed on to come back to the film. But she said, you know what? Sydney needs to go through some more shit, and I need money.
Poor Sydney. She's literally sitting in Hollywood land. Like, I should have never have been born.
I
shouldn't be here.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up, right, Zach?
Yeah, this was great. We talked a lot. We got a lot of good ideas out there. If we were writing the script, it'd have been a good one.
Obviously, we fixed the whole movie. We fixed the franchise, honestly.
Honestly, I mean, good for us. Hayden Panettiere is going to call us and say thank you.
Yes. If that wasn't at least given thought for this one, if they didn't even at least think about it, because I know she's going through it right now, so I'd understand if she said no. But
if you know about the Scream franchise and you're like, I'm taking over, you better fucking know how people feel about Kirby at this point.
Here's the thing. The only thing people are tweeting at Hayden Panettiere is about Kirby for the last year. So obviously she knows, they know, everyone is aware. I hope they considered it.
It's truly amazing, because I don't know what happened in general, or like people are like Hayden Panettiere, whatever. Like Heroes, yes, Heroes was garbage, but like she was fine. She's Hayden Panettiere. We always loved her. She was a kid. Remember the Titans? Yeah.
She's been great in everything that she's done.
And then Scream 4 happened. Mm-hmm. Everyone was like, wow. And then Nashville happened, and she was fucking phenomenal. Yeah. Poor Connie Britton, because the whole point in Nashville was like Connie Britton's like the Faith Hill, right. And then like Hayden's like the Taylor Swift. You can't fucking sing. Hayden was a much better singer.
And now look where we are. Now look where we are. Look
Aiden is Kirby will be the Avengers post-credit scene. We're gonna get that, just a brief 30 seconds of zooming in on somebody looking at their phone. An alert comes, more murders in Woodsboro. She gets up, pulls the Glock out of her pocket, and she's ready to fucking go.
No, Cindy goes, on your left, and then Kirby
they jump on a Zoom call together.
Okay. That would
Kirby's every scene is a Zoom call from Kirby. Yep, I'm doing great.
She's like, Sydney, you go get him. And then that's her little thing right there.
She sings her song from Natural, Don't Put Dirt on My Grave Just Yet.
And with that, we thank you guys so much for watching.
Zachary, where can they find My Bloody Judy on YouTube?
YouTube.com/AZB bonus features. And what about on all podcasting platforms?
On podcasting platforms, you can find it on Slayerfest 98's podcast feed, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other corners of the internet.
And where's everybody finding you guys, LaToya and Jarett?
Usually when they ask for plugs, I just say no, but in case y'all don't know where to find me at this point, I don't know, because you're racist. I don't know. I'm on Twitter at LaFergs, LAFERGS. I have a couple of vampires with deep turmoil podcasts, Angel on Top and The Vampire Diaries. Those are about the shows Angel and The Vampire Diaries and all that entails of the Vampire Diaries universe. I don't know. I've ordered a book on women's wrestling. You can find that too.
Jarett, where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, as Jarett says, but I don't recommend following me on TikTok because it's just a bunch of Kelly Clarkson videos.
So that's good, actually.
It's a big recommendation.
I mean, listen, I want you to know what you're getting into.
Have you done a Never Again video?
I mean, God, I love that song so good.
I was blasting it earlier.
So good. Hope the ring you gave to her turns her finger green.
Thank you both so much for joining us. And
thank you for having us. This was so fun.
Bye.
Bye.